are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last in our ICD-10 webinar series. And again, this is an open forum. Send us your questions. Some of you have sent some in advance, and we'll answer those. And we're going to have a quick reminder of why we're here today. Joining us today, we have panelists Barbie Elmore, Jim Brennan, and Kendra Jones, all with Practice Admin. And I want to remind you again that this is being recorded and it will be available. We'll post it on our website. If you want the PowerPoint as well, you can send us a request to marketing@practiceadmin.com. So let's jump in and see who we have with us today. We have Barbie Elmore, who will be taking our lead panelist role today. She's got tons of experience and has been focused on ICD-10 for a couple of years now, right, Barbie? Barbie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It feels like most of my life I've been focused on ICD-10.
Yes, I know. And
That's fine.
I think that tomorrow should be a national holiday, so we should all just eat donuts and then at the end of the day, crash. All right. So let's jump into why we're here. Again, we've been doing this every webinar. Just again, a brief reminder, Barbie, of why this day is significant and why we're doing this. Can you tell us a little bit quickly, briefly, why we're doing this?
Yeah, and we're switching over to ICD-10, and it's going to be giving the physicians to the ability to give much more detail about what is going on with the patient and the type of diagnoses that are added to claims for reporting purposes, tracking purposes, et cetera. Hopefully, would also benefit from higher reimbursements.
Mm-hmm.
More information is hopefully just going to lead to higher payments. That's what it's, we're not going to panic. It's, it's coding is coding. So we're just
Right.
switching the code set, and I think everything will be fine.
Yes. And again, a reminder, this has been around since 1992, and we are actually one of the last countries to implement it. So it's going to happen now. No last minute reprieve. All right, but from what I hear, it's not going to be quite this bad. There's a lot of bizarre codes out there. TriZetto, one of our clearinghouses, has been doing this great series of weekly ICD-10 codes of the week, which have been a fun to see as they come out with those. But for those of you who've been through 5010, you know how much you are prepared, something unplanned is going to happen. So the best plan is to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Right, Barbie?
I definitely agree about that.
Okay, and these are just some tips for ICD-10 that we've learned during this series of webinars. Jim, do you want to run through these for us? I know you've been involved in a lot of these as well and are well versed in them.
Well, certainly
Thank you,
I've
Jim.
been involved as a listener mainly, not as a presenter, but
Okay.
I will have to say some of the extremely timely and extremely relevant tips that our speakers have shared over these 4 to 6 weeks have been extremely eye-opening to me, and I'm sure to people who are engaged daily in the act of actually coding. So some of the tips, I guess, the biggest one I can think of isn't on here is just be proactive, be aware, watch everything, and I'll elaborate on that at some point. But one of the best tips is right on the top.
Yes.
Look at your top 25 codes right now and go ahead and get, over the last 12 months or whatever, the ones you really are going to use a lot, and go ahead and get those matched up in the ICD-10 and be ready. That's a, it sounds trivial, but it's a very good point because it can save a lot of time. And time is a quantity that is going to, you do not need to squander right now, because anytime there's a big change, and this is a big change. After all, it's all about patient care. And if you're able to better document the encounter by codifying things and making it much easier for research and much easier for patient care, that's what it's all about. Problem is, the structure that we put in to do that it requires people to make a major change. It's like taking wagon wheels off your wagon and putting on racing slicks.
Right.
And you got to have other things to go with that. So in addition to getting your top 25 diagnoses and getting them ready, look at your payers. some of the payers may not even be ready. It'd be good to find out your top payers and get their contact information, and even look at their website and see if they say anything about ICD-10. If they don't, find out.
Yeah, most of them do
Still not
have
too late.
readiness list. And in fact, on our resource page, I have several links from our clearinghouses that will daily updates of payer readiness. So I encourage you to go look at that if you haven't.
Super. And here's a little bit of good news. While we're preaching bad news, there's a little bit of good news in that CMS has come out with a little bit of a leniency period, but I wouldn't hold them at their word for a whole year or something like that. But while people are making the transition, if you get in the right family of codes, they're not going to penalize you. Now,
You
of
can
course,
still get paid, right?
that means if it's an ophthalmology code and you put in an orthopedic code, that you're not going to get paid correctly, of course. But the unspecified codes, which are usually the basic codes in each family, will get you by and will get you paid during this period of leniency. And I think it's time. Anybody should be considering certified coders and things like that. But I think now, if you haven't taken advantage of that in the past, then that would be a good time to bring in resources to help do that, because coding obviously is in the spotlight right now, and certified coders can certainly help. There's extra training that can be taken advantage of. Online training from people like Medical Management Institute and others can help anybody with the transition, from the front desk all the way to billing and even coding.
Right, and again, you may think you're ready, but you won't know until tomorrow or next week if you do need help and more training. So these people, we have done several webinars, and I encourage people to go back and view those webinars. They are available online to learn about MMI and about some coding service options with Dell Medical Coding Services. Okay, thanks, Jim. Let's
Well, last one. When in doubt,
yeah,
hunt and buy the book.
That's right.
Buy the book.
It's nice to have that tangible book to look at when you're
right.
All right, and Barbie, I know the nice, awesome feature about our Provider Suite software is that we do have our built-in crosswalk tool. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Do I have to do the disclaimer that you're not supposed to do a direct correlation between 9 and 10?
Right.
You're not supposed to code that way. So I'm
No,
going to
correct.
say that.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. But what Jim's tool will do is help you get into that family of codes that we were talking about earlier. So you can take the current, for example, if you run the report, get your top, say, for example, 10 ICD-9 codes, you can go ahead and go into Jim's today. And it's separated from the actual claims detail page, so you don't have to be in a claim to be able to use this tool. And then you can do just like it says here, we want to do from ICD-9 to ICD-10. And then, and you can do a reverse backwards. You can do from ICD-10 back to ICD-9, so you've got both options for this. And you can go through and go ahead and get your top 10 ICD-10 codes. To get a head start for tomorrow, I wouldn't suggest that anybody just kind of get out of bed tomorrow morning and make their first attempt to start trying to get these codes in place. Hopefully you've already done this, but if you haven't, we still have time before the end of the day today to go ahead and get into that GEM search and see if you can learn what your top ICD-10 codes are about to be.
Thanks. All right, so we have coming up some of the top questions we've received from these webinars. So let's go through some of those, and I want to again encourage people, you can submit your questions in the chat box in the GoToWebinar, and we will get to those. So the first one, directed to practice admin from a customer, was, have you tested with state Medicaid or commercial payers? Barbie, you want to take that one for us?
Sure, and just what it says here on the screen is we deal directly with the clearinghouse. Most of you guys know our clearinghouse is TriZetto, and we've been working very closely with TriZetto. We've got the green light with them. Everything passed, so we are ICD-10 ready. And what the benefit of that was, from the practice admin standpoint, is we've got so many different customers that we were able to do all the testing for you. So you were kind of able to cruise through this and not have to worry about trying to test with your individual payers throughout the country, because we have customers that are spread across the country. So we've certified with the one entity being TriZetto, which TriZetto turned around and they made sure that everything was good to go with the payers. And just an interesting note about that, we had a couple of internal calls directly with our TriZetto people, and I was surprised by how calm she was. She
Yeah,
said,
really.
this is fine. This,
Yeah.
you know, she said, this is an ICD-10. The structure is already there.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready to go. This isn't the same thing as, excuse me, I said ICD-10. This isn't 5010.
Right.
She said this is something different, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and she said that the code structure is there to send ICD-10 codes. This is more of a coding change. Therefore,
Right.
the clearinghouse says we don't code.
Mm-hmm.
We're fine. So if you can imagine that you're putting the code in, they're like the mailman. They're going to deliver it. Everything's fine.
And that's a lot of people don't realize the process hasn't changed. It's the same process. It's just the coding
Right.
has changed.
Right. Exactly.
Great. Kendra, you want to take this one for us? Are you on there?
I'm here.
I can.
Let's see.
So this is a big question. People want to know if they can send both ICD-9 and 10 simultaneously.
No.
Right.
So just as the screen says, after October 1st, you can only send ICD-10 coded claims. So you cannot mix them up. You can split them, but you cannot mix the data services.
Right, and if you do that, it's going to be denied. It's going to be rejected.
Oh, yes.
And again, we want to remind you, though, however, there is a period of leniency, as Jim was mentioning. Thankfully, you don't have to know all the codes for your practice yet. You can use the unspecified code and still get paid. Keep things flowing. All right, Jim, I know you've taken this one from me before. Can you take it again? Are there going to be delays in payment? Yes.
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Not because of something you may do directly yourself or your practice or your billing company or anybody in the firm, but simply because the process is going through a major change. All of the bottlenecks that are there, which are the people that review claims, the people that process claims, everything is going to slow down simply because of mass scrutiny. It's just like on the giant interstates, when there's a construction issue going on, you got 6 lanes, but they close one. You think, oh, it's no big deal. They just close the lane. Oh, no. You're backed up for miles. Think of your claims as being in an interstate traffic jam. So there's going to be a natural cash flow dip just because of delays in getting things. And then there are going to be the problems that we hope will be avoided.
Right.
I want to throw something in there too.
Please.
I was online yesterday. One of our partners that we have here at Practice Admin is AMBA. And AMBA put out some information yesterday that I didn't know about. It was very interesting. They started talking about that the MACs may have some advanced payments that providers can apply for if the MACs get into a situation where they're not able to timely process the claims, not if you are sending the wrong codes. So if you're sending an ICD-9 codes and getting rejections, they don't care. But if you're clearly coding with ICD-10 and they're having payment delays, that there may be an opportunity to get some kind of advance payment. That makes me nervous personally. A long time ago, back in the day when I was a biller, I dealt with that with Georgia Medicaid, and they gave us advance payments, and then I don't know what happened, but we ended up owing them money. It just depends on the cash flow of your practice. If you are 75% Medicare, this may be something you need to look into to make sure that you stay afloat if wherever you are in the country they start having problems. So,
do you have a link to that on AMBA? Maybe you can send it to me. I can send it in the follow-up email.
Definitely. I will get that for you, Tamara, so everybody can have that.
Sounds good. Thanks. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And we have questions starting to come in from our viewers. Okay, this is actually one of the questions that just came in, and it's been a big question for everybody. Barbie, I'm going to let you take this one.
Okay.
It's kind of complex, and there's a lot of question about it, around data service.
Yeah, okay, so I'm specifically talking about this MLN article, SE 1408. Went back to the CMS website before I got on this webinar, and they also are pointing people to the same document, mainly because there's not just questions about just ICD-10. It seems to be a lot of spans. Like people are like, well, I'm billing and I have a span. And I won't go into the details of this article that's from CMS, but like I said, it's right here on the screen. It's SC 1408, and it goes into pretty good detail about if you're filling inpatient, outpatient, or professional services, and what you should do with the span. But from this article, the understanding is if the date of service is October 1st or after, then you are going to use an ICD-10. If the date of service is prior to October 1st, you are going to use ICD-9. You cannot have a span that spans both on one claim, because that's not going to work. So if you have spanning issues, I would suggest that you get to this article and help clarify what this may be for you. If you don't have to worry about that in your specialty, well, you're in luck. And like I said, dates of service October 1st, you want to use ICD-10. Dates of service that are prior to October 1st, you want to use ICD-9 codes.
Great, thank you. And again, if you have a link to that article, to that specific, can you send that to me, and I'll include that in the email follow-up as well?
Yes,
okay,
I will do that too.
Sounds good. And we've got some more questions coming in, but let's get through this. This goes back to, again, we already discussed this briefly, is there a grace period? And it's not really a grace period. It's a period of leniency, as Jim said, where you can use unspecified codes. Anything else you want to add to that, Barbie? I know we haven't heard much from you on that area.
No, I think everyone needs to know that starting, tomorrow with the dates of service at October 1st, you have to use the ICD-10 code. If you've got a provider or someone who is telling you that we do not, my suggestion is going to be, and this is, maybe take some time, but reach out to the payers that you're talking about. I know for myself, I haven't had this question 100% clarified, is California workers' comp is very notorious for doing what they want to do, and some of the other state work comps don't seem to want to comply. So if you got some kind of rural subspecialty that you're like, I don't know, I heard that they're not going to, I would look into this, because our understanding from kind of a holistic term is everybody is going to ICD-10. But I want everyone to be educated and understand that the payers and what's going on with their individual payer mix about what those payers are doing.
Right.
For example, the California Work Comp did not switch to the new paper form. We're on the 0212 form. They still want the 0805. So it's just basically educating yourself and making sure that you understand your payer mix and what they want.
Yes.
If you ask us from a holistic standpoint, we're going to say no. There is no grace period. There is no, you have to start using ICD-10.
That's right. Okay. Now we're going to open it up to some questions from our audience. I know I've got a few coming in here. Okay. All right. Barbie, I think this is one you're going to take. Will the CMS 1500 forms update box, I can't read all this. Okay. Box 21 to reflect ICD-10. No new form will be needed? Correct. Question. Do you get that?
Yeah, I get it, and I wish I had the new claim form in my face right now, because it would make it easier for me to answer this question. My understanding is that where the actual diagnosis codes are laid out, that you can put ICD-9 or ICD-10. You may have never noticed this, but if you have a claim form around you, that's the new claim form, the 0212 form, that there's also an indicator box. And that box has been populated so far with a 9. We're going to start populating that with a different digit, and I can't remember if it's 0 or 10 right now, so I apologize. So that's really when you send a paper claim into a payer, that's kind of how they know which is which. My understanding, and maybe Kendra can help me with this, I don't know if there's truly an indicator in the ANSI file that goes out, or the 837T. I do know that the segments are different. There's a different segment for the ICD-10 than the ICD-9 codes. But right now when we talk about, so when we're talking about the paper claim form, if you're printing it out, there's an indicator. The actual claim that's being sent, the indicators within the loops and segments of the claim, of the electronic claim itself, that lets the payer know if you're sending an ICD-9 or an ICD-10 code within that claim.
Now, I know we had a question earlier about the qualifier. Was that what you were just addressing, or did we address that? I was trying to remember.
Yeah, I want to take this in a little deeper because this one says the qualifier may be inserted to the 837 transaction, and that just kind of contradicts exactly what I understood because I'm pretty sure I asked this question very directly to TriZetto. So I'm gonna whoever sent that question in, we're gonna dig deeper on this. And get back to them.
Great. And again, some of these questions, we may not have the answers now, but we'll look at it and get back to you. So the next question, and this goes back to something we've already discussed, but let's mention it again. Have you heard from the major payers what the expected delay in payment will be? For example, Meridian Medicare normally puts in 2 weeks. And again, this is going to involve you going to your payers. We do have some information from our clearinghouses with some lists on there for you to refer to, but it's going to be pretty much up to you to contact your payers directly to see what they're doing. Is that true, Barbie? Is there more we can help them with on that?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to say that you want to hope for the best and plan for the worst.
Right.
It's interesting that when this almost happened, roughly a year ago, there seemed to be more of a push for practices to stack up reserves. That seemed to be like the constant conversation that was happening the first time was, make sure you've got cash reserves. Don't wait to the last minute. It's just interesting that nobody really talked about that this year. So I don't know if that was if that just kind of came from another year to prepare, everybody feels more comfortable. I'm not sure. So I just haven't heard about the cash reserves. So, and we haven't heard a lot about any expected delays with adjudication of claims.
Right, you're right.
Maybe everybody thinks, maybe everybody thinks this is just going to be great. I don't know.
We will find out shortly.
We will find out. Yeah, so true.
Another question here. We were asked to make a change in file format we submit for ICD-10. Are we able to use the same file format for all claims now submitted regardless of whether there is an ICD-9 or 10 code submitted? I'm going to read that again?
Yeah, I wonder if that person's coming and they're a non-practice admin customer that we may have on the webinar. And I would like whoever to ask that question to give more detail of exactly what file format are you talking about. I'm going to assume you're talking about the 837P, but I don't want to be incorrect on that. And then if it is, Kendra can talk about very specifically what I was just talking about, the difference between the ICD-9 loops and the ICD-10 loops and what they are prefixed with.
Okay, so to the person who submitted that, if you can contact us or email us, or we'll can get back to you afterwards to get some more specifics on that question. Okay, some oddball outlying carriers are not going with ICD-10. You need to check with these carriers. That's right. Yeah, well, we know workers' comp is one that's not really required, but again, that's where it's pretty much up to you to check with them and to see what their status is.
Yeah, and what I heard, let's see, at the beginning of the month, that the ones who really were kind of big and it stood out was that Medicaid fee-for-service for California, Louisiana, Maryland, and Montana. But apparently they still want you to send in the ICD-10 code and that they're going to convert them or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it was really bizarre,
Super bizarre. So if you happen to have or you happen to use any of those 4 payers, I would definitely suggest today that you get some more detail about exactly what they're going to do, how they want you to send the claim, and what kind of payment delay they may be expecting. Because anytime that you're trying to change codes, there's no way that that's going to result in claims being paid timely. That just doesn't sit very well with me. And that's California, Louisiana, Maryland, and Montana.
Okay, thank you. All right, next question. Is there a link we can create a new encounter superbill ticket to reflect the ICD-10 codes? I don't know if they made a link within.
Yeah, if you're talking about practice admin specifically, what we have told our customers to do is to send us the new PDF or the new Excel form of your new encounter form, and literally we're going to drop them overnight tonight.
Okay.
So when everybody shows up in the morning. I haven't had a lot of people take us up on that, so it's actually kind of odd. I don't know if I'll have a rush of people tomorrow.
Right, that's right. It's going to be a long night.
But yeah, it's going to be a long night. But we'll, if you go ahead and submit a ticket to support@practiceadmin.com with that updated super bill, then we'll go ahead and get that uploaded and ready to go in the morning for you.
Great, thank you. I am a practice admin customer. Can we talk after? Sure. We will be available to take questions and talk to you. Okay. Oh, okay, that was her response. Okay, so we'll follow up with her concerning the form, the type of form.
Oh, okay.
I received a completely, oops. Oh, okay, this is the one we were talking about earlier, so we'll get back to him. Okay, great. All right, last call. Any questions from anybody out there? This is your last chance. We will be here. Continue taking your questions. Like I said, it's going to be a long night for many of us. We'll have donuts and coffee.
And I just want to stress again, too, like I said, the biggest eye-opener for me recently was just talking to our clearinghouse and how they had not, I asked them if they're going to staff up or you can have extra hours. Like I'm, all asking questions, and they kind of like, no. Yeah. And they were really stressing to us that we need to stress to the customer that they anticipate that they're going to be able to pass the claims on to the payers with little to no issue. So what will happen if you are a practice admin customer and you are in the PA Today screen, or you're actually through in the TriZetto portal, that the rejections that you may get are not going to be TriZetto rejections. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but this is what TriZetto is telling us, that they anticipate being able to send the claims on to the payer, and where the problems are going to have to be are the payers. When I brought the subject up earlier about your payer mix, that's so important that you know where the bulk of your money is coming in, because it's impossible to contact all the payers in the end of this week. But if you can contact at least where 75% of your money is, if you have a provider rep that is local that you know, and make sure you've got the 800 number ready for if they've got some kind of ICD-10 hotline or anything like that. Educate yourself today and just be prepared. So at least you will know where the bulk of your money is, and if the bulk of your money is in jeopardy. The small outlying payers that may act crazy, you can just let them act crazy and really try to focus on where the bulk of your money is coming from to make sure that you have armed yourself and understand what those payers are about to do starting tomorrow.
Right. Great, thank you. And Barbie, real quick, one of the people we had on here responding, we'll need to call him afterwards concerning the DOS and release. I've got his number. Okay, next question. I think this is the last one. Since claims before 10-1 must use 9, will we have to manually switch between 9 and 10 in the billing manager for each claim depending on DOS? Or is billing manager set up to automatically choose the code set based on DOS?
No, there is a selection that you will have to make.
Yeah, there's nothing automatic, unfortunately.
Correct. What we have done in this last release is we gave you the ability to decide which one you want it to be defaulted to. You can default it to 9 or you can default it to 10, basically based on what your desire is. So I can imagine some people are probably going to go ahead and just flip that over to 10 starting tomorrow. Some people may not want to do that just yet.
Yes. This Okay, and this is a good question. Customers are able to pull a report for major diagnostic codes. This question is, can we pull a report within pay for major payers? I don't know about that. To you, Barbie.
What do they mean by pull a report of major payers? Like we have revenue analysis reports if you're wondering like who's giving you the bulk of your money. So we do have a couple of reports that will help you figure out. Yeah, maybe that's what they're talking
identify,
about.
Right. Great, and we will get back to you on that. Great, okay. So I think that was it. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. and encourage you, if you didn't get a chance to attend the other webinars, they have been recorded and are available on our website. And if you want a copy of this presentation, send me an email at marketing@practiceadmin. And also, we do have other resources available on our website. Thank you, Barbie and Jim and Kendra, for joining us today. I know it's going to be a long week, probably month for all of us as we transition to ICD-10. So thank you guys again for helping out with the webinars.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Bye.
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 Oops.